Say cheese, you're in Costco not wearing your mask, refusing to wear your mask.
Does the president have a message for local school officials on dealing with these kind of disputes that are already starting to arise? Trans girls who are competing and cis girls.
I would just say that the president's belief is that trans rights are human rights.
But anyone truly interested in real accountability for what happened at the Capitol on January 6th, would of course insist on waiting for a full investigation to be completed. Indeed, one is underway in earnest already.
Taunton, I believe you have a filter turned on in the video settings.
It is, and I don't know how to remove it. I've got my assistant here, she's trying to, but I'm here live. I'm not a cat.
None of us here are cats on the Burn Barrel podcast. Good afternoon or good morning, whatever it is for you. What a great day today is. It is a great and interesting day. There's only reason to be happy and enthused and reinvigorated because stuff is okay. And that cat that was in a court in Texas, in what county? It's a real Texas-sounding county. What was the county? District judge. That's Brewster County. The Last Frontier, it's called, Brewster County. That is, yes, Honorable Roy B. Ferguson, I believe, is the judge presiding. 394th Judicial District Court. Mm-hmm. And now everything's done on Zoom meetings. So what you heard there was the two lawyers and the judge doing whatever their court stuff they were doing. And one of the lawyer had a filter on. I assume one of his kids put the filter on, a video filter on, Zoom, that made his... that actually made him into a cat. So he had a cat's head, so when he spoke, the cat's mouth would mouth the words.
And the eyes were moving back and forth.
As the cat tried to figure out how to troubleshoot the problems with the settings on the video because the filter was on there. So, you know what? It's interesting. There aren't too many times when, especially, and all these guys are probably over 50 years old, there aren't too many times when you're, and especially if you've been out in the world enough, when you're in a totally new situation. Totally new. No one is prepared. No one has been trained on what to do if one of the lawyers is a cat. No one knows what to do. The other lawyer doesn't know how to handle that. He didn't see that coming. The judge doesn't know how to handle that. The cat himself, it feels at certainly a disadvantage. If not, I would say it's a huge feeling of a huge deficit, I would say. I mean, I don't think that he's thinking, okay, this new cat me is going to be better at law than me beforehand. He probably feels like he probably has a creeping, irking sensation that the judge will see what his persona as disrespectful.
I mean, surely there's a chance that the judge may not be pleased. There's a chance that the cat's client might not be pleased also.
Yeah, and so it's and that's tough too because judges, I don't know if I've just had jury duty. That's really about the extent of it. Mm-hmm. And I've seen judges just rip into people. They are vicious. They're vicious to people in the dock. They're vicious to bailiffs. They're vicious to court officers. They're vicious to lawyers. If you screw up, they can go at you. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I would think that probably even the most vicious person in the world doesn't have it immediately know to be triggered by a cat who's talking to him. But that's what happened today, and this is excellent. This is important news. So this is the judge who's noticing, and the thing is, the judge notices. It says, "By the way, I think you may have a filter on because you're a cat." And the lawyer says, "Yeah, we're working on it," because he knew he had to be there on time no matter what. So it's like, it's 8:57 in 30 seconds, 8:57 in 50 seconds, 8:58 in 20 seconds. And he's going through, please make me not be a cat here. But I have to show up.
Right.
I can't not show up because then I'm in deep kimchi.
It's like when you show up to work really sick, but because you have to prove that you're actually sick. And I mean, I know nobody shows up to work sick anymore because of COVID, but like back in the before times, if you were worried about your job or like calling out too much, and so if you actually were sick, you would go in sick so that your boss would like be like, okay, go
No, but
home,
it's worse than that. It's having to know you have to be at work. So it's like me having to go to work and having no clothes here but your bikini and saying, oh my God, it will be horrific and it will be inappropriate if I show up in this bikini, and that's many points off, and I will certainly earn the consternation and perpetual side eye from everybody I work with forever. That said, I have to show up and clock in on time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the pluses and minuses. You've got to be in a special place in your mind to have to do it. So the lawyer shows up in the Zoom meeting on time as a cat. I wonder if there was part of him that was saying, there's a chance he doesn't notice. He doesn't notice that I'm a cat.
Mr. Ponton, I believe you have a filter turned on in the video settings. You might want to take a look.
Oh, God, sir. And even the judge saying, I believe, unless for the first time in my career, a cat has passed the bar exam and is now standing in front of me, I believe, but no disrespect if you indeed are a feline handling this case, but I believe that it's a filter. That's what we're going with here. We think that is.
Can you hear me, Judge?
I can hear you. I think it's a filter.
It is, and I don't know how to remove it.
But you said we have to show here in person with the cameras on, and I couldn't just do the shut camera off and be an icon thing. And so this is what I have right now as cat lawyer.
I've got my assistant here. She's trying to, but I'm prepared to go forward with it.
I will do it, sir.
I don't want you to think I'm not prepared. That's mine, that I'm dressed as a huge flamingo that's, shooting smoke out of my ears with Roman candles, Roman candle in my mouth. I realize that could be a distraction, but I don't want you to think that I disrespect you enough to not be prepared. I'm prepared. I'm prepared to do this anyway. That's fine.
I'm here live. I'm not a cat.
If that's not throwing yourself on the mercy of the court, I'm not. There's really a person here, and I've showed up on time. I've done everything I'm supposed to. This affliction that's been wrought upon me was not of my own doing on purpose. I assure you, sir, I am ready to do this.
I can see that.
So there you go. That's about as much as there is. But it's a new kind of low.
I'm not a cat.
When you have to plead, even though what you're seeing seems entirely inappropriate and shocking, really, probably to a lot of people watching right now, including my client, like you said, and including the prosecution, who all assumed that the defense attorney would not be a cat. I realize this, but damn it, you know what? I'm not a cat. I'm a human being.
I'm not a cat.
So I like that guy, cat lawyer.
It feels like some weird dystopian fairy tale, like where, somebody gets turned into something by the evil fairy, and then they have to go around and be some humble creature, and everybody thinks that they're not a human, and really they are. But except, like, the only way we interact with a lot of people now is by Zoom. So if your Zoom traps you as a cat, then you're just a cat for the purposes of everybody in the world. And it's like you have to call it, I'm not really a cat. I'm really a person like you.
And that, hold on, I have to, my brother, I have to message him.
But yeah, I can't imagine. It's like such a weird nightmare showing up to school without having put pants on situation that you have to, like, in watching the clock tick and trying to figure out how to turn off the filter and realizing that you're just going to be a cat in the courtroom today. It's, I can't. And now he's viral on the internet, so.
Right.
Now he's never going to live this down the rest of his life.
And and this is how this happens. His day, he prepared for this case. He is ready. Everything's going well. He got a haircut. He's been working out anyway. He's feels confident about this case. He knows this judge is a stickler. Mm-hmm. So he's like, I'm going to be on my Zoom early. I am going to be ready. I am going to be everything. And he probably spent, like, the night before, he was up making sure that his background was really cool and academic looking, all sorts of books up there, maybe a bust of Benjamin Franklin, everything you're supposed to have.
Right.
Everything was perfect. Everything was perfect except one thing. Except that he was a cat.
Yeah, and probably, like you said, it probably is a kid situation, or he sounded maybe a little older, maybe even a grandkid situation where somebody decided to be a cat. Some 4-year-old thought it was cute. And
it must have been shocking for him to say, to look, when he finally gets video ready, to see there's a cat in one of the windows, and to see whenever he asked about it, it was asking about it at the same time. And it mimicked him perfectly. So that's our favorite guy. He's the I'm not a cat guy. He'll probably be, in the old days, this guy would be on David Letterman, tonight.
I'm not a cat.
But who knows? Who knows? So what else is going on, Alice? Jen Psaki was asked about opening the schools today by a reporter, and this is the answer. It seems like a very aggressive attack by the Biden administration to get those schools open. They have deemed that those schools are safe now, and they want those schools open. Everybody's going back.
Opening up schools swiftly and safely. Could you help us understand what the White House's or what the president's definition of open schools is? Does it mean teachers in classroom teaching students in classroom, or does it just mean kids in classroom with a remote screen? Help us understand.
Sure. Help us understand which form of union manipulation and actual school minimalization is going to appear before us here. Because we'll humor you here. We know you're saying open schools, but what do you mean?
His goal that he set is to have the majority of schools, so more than 50%, open by day 100 of his presidency. And that means some teaching.
Seems open to me.
Yeah.
50% open by day 100 of his presidency.
In classrooms.
Some teachers will be in classrooms, she just said.
Right. I mean, you might have thought that having the schools back by April 30th meant all schools, but okay, 50% plus one, the majority of schools. Okay, we're editing down the definition here, but okay.
April 30th, and then there's May, and then there's June.
And then the teachers are off again.
Right. And then June we go home. Or we stay home, as a matter of fact.
So at least one day a week. Hopefully it's more.
What, pardon me? How many days a week? Wait a second. How many school days are there a week traditionally? Like last year? 5. Okay. So is 1 5? 1 is not 5, right?
There have been changes to math. There have been changes to math in recent years. But I think that's still true, that 1 is not 5.
So, Alice, 1 to me, 1 seems like it's about 1/5 of 5. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay. Or is that also known as 20%?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So half the schools will be open 20% of the time.
And obviously it is as much as is safe in each school and local district.
When you say some,
so half the schools will be open 1/5 of the time, maybe. All right.
Teaching, you didn't use the same majority qualifier there. You just have to have some teaching in school, some teachers in school, not the majority of teachers in school and the majority of classrooms.
Well, teaching at least 1 day a week in the majority of schools by day 100.
Okay, and that's in-person teaching?
In-person teaching, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Go ahead.
You're absolutely. They will be there in person 1 day a week.
So you will get approximately 1/10 of your taxpayer investment in the schools, because it will be 20% of 50% of the schools will be open. So
Yes.
That's, 1 out of every 10 of your school dollars will be used for what it's supposed to be getting used for, which is educating children.
So where's the other money going then right now?
Well, the teachers are still all making full salaries.
Oh, okay.
Everybody's still and all the administrators and the school nurses and everybody. Like
And-
the school is closed, but the school nurse who doesn't even like teachers at least they're still doing stuff. In some cases that their remote learning jobs are more work than they signed up for in regular
And
school.
that money is allocated to the maintenance of the schools as well?
Yep, the maintenance of the schools, the administrators at the schools,
So,
all the the school
don't at least-
librarian, everybody's all
At
still
least once a year, schools are prepared to be opened for the first time, right? This is a lot of math, I understand. At least once a year, schools are prepared to be opened for the first time.
Mhm.
Is that true or false? I'm the cat lawyer now. Question. This is a deposition.
True.
So maintenance crews
Uh-huh.
will make sure to get the schools ready to open once a year.
Mhm.
But the schools aren't ready to open yet.
Well, not all schools anyway, yeah.
Okay, but some of the schools aren't ready to open yet.
Mhm.
So why wouldn't since we should have an extra open day in our back pocket now since we didn't have one this fall. So why wouldn't the schools be ready to open? Why wouldn't we have wash stuff yet when we usually do at least once a year without fail?
Yeah, I mean, they have wash stuff, but they because of COVID, they want to be prepared to wash it more often than usual, which could mean more money than usual.
Okay. So there's no money to wash stuff again.
I mean, not as much as they think they need to like sanitize the school every other day or whatever. So, for example, our school district has kids going in every other day, which seems to me the least efficient way to do this, but that's okay. But they have kids going every other day to school, like what group A and group B, right? Cohort. And they sanitize the school in between each group.
Okay. My next question.
Mm-hmm.
Are the Walmarts open every day?
Yes.
Okay. And do they manage to be adequately clean every day in the eyes of regulators and health officials?
Yeah, and customers. Yes.
Okay.
Because people are going in them.
People of all ages, not majority kids, which would be much safer if it was just
right,
kids.
Right.
Okay. So the schools can't be clean, but everybody else and everything else in this country can be clean.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, including small pizza joints that have to be clean due to regulations, many of which are not to be open.
Right.
But they want to be because they're clean and ready.
Mm-hmm.
And the private schools somehow
Are open.
are open. They got their money, and somehow they're managing to clean without a government infusion of more money.
Right.
Okay. So we can expect that 1/5 of schools will be open.
No, half of schools.
No, half of schools will be open.
1/5 of the time.
Okay, by May, essentially, 1/5 of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So half of schools will be open by the 5th month of the year, 1/5 of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
At
Excellent.
least we're setting solid benchmarks.
Yeah. No, I think it's wonderful.
I mean, and I don't even know like what percentage of schools is open right now, because in Massachusetts most schools are open at least part of the time. You know what I mean? I mean, that's
Yeah.
like our school. Technically, our school, I suppose, is open 80% of the time because they're open 4 days a week, 2 days for one set of kids and 2 days for the other set of kids.
I'm not a cat.
All right. Another Jen Psaki news. She was asked about the. She got another question from a reporter about transgender rights.
Okay.
And this question is, unfortunately, you're going to hear this. Unfortunately, these questions are getting hard to pose because you have to adopt new, dumb, progressive vocabulary in which to do it. So you're no longer really speaking English.
Mm-hmm.
So this is tough for the reporter to get out. But you tell me, how thoughtful and deep and substantive the response from Jen Psaki was over an issue that many hold very dear to their hearts.
Particularly on President Biden's transgender rights executive action, specifically when it applies to high school sports. What message would the White House have for trans girls and cis girls who may end up competing against each other and sparking some lawsuits and some concern among parents? So does the administration have guidance for schools on dealing with disputes arising over trans girls competing against and with cis girls?
I'm not sure what your question is.
Because it's not the obvious one that everybody would be asking. Why are boys competing against girls, even though we're calling things that they aren't? Trans girls and cis girls. So Jen Psaki is pretending, I can't imagine what the question would be. What would be the controversial thing about that anybody would ask about? I don't understand what it would be whatsoever. Would it be that my daughter can't compete because some idiot named Dave has to run alongside her? I mean, he might not be an idiot. Maybe he's a nice guy, but he might be stupid. That's fine. Or I mean, what other question is there around this situation?
That's the concern.
Yes.
The president's executive order had.
I'm familiar with the order, but what was your question about it?
My question is, does the president have a...
That is a coyness, a haughtiness, a smugness.
What could possibly be controversial about this
order?
order?
I know the order, and we've all vetted the order. Nobody has a problem with the order. I mean, it just makes sense. As the sun rises, this makes sense. It's the same thing.
Message for local school officials.
It doesn't help the reporters asking it like a wuss either.
Right.
You know, what message are you sending with trans girls and cis girls who may have a convergence of issues and may feel underserved in the litigation that may result as it's like, Jesus, just say the question that everybody knows is the problem.
In dealing with these kind of disputes that are already starting to arise between trans girls who are competing and cis girls and a level playing field. It's particularly in high school sports when it leads to...
You shut up, by the way.
...college scholarships.
So this should get a substantive response, it seems to me. It's a valid question.
Right.
Is there any kind of messaging or clarification that the White House wants to give on the executive?
And it really deserves a substantive answer because the reporter has been speaking for 45 minutes now trying to enunciate a question.
Order.
I would just say that the president's belief is that trans rights are human rights, and that's why he signed that executive order. And in terms of the determinations by universities and colleges, I would certainly defer to them. Go ahead and sorry.
So
why aren't girls' rights human rights?
No, just trans rights.
What happened
are
to that?
Human rights.
How about girls' rights? What about Title IX, the rights of girls to benefit from the educational system unhindered by anybody else?
And I mean, I think there's also a fair question to be asked, which is, I think you could possibly, if you're being obtuse, claim that, like, we don't know yet if, trans girls that have been on hormone therapy their whole lives and have never gone through male puberty, that maybe they don't have an advantage or something. And but I think that the question needs to be asked, if we go through this and it turns out that all the running scholarships are won by trans girls, all the, it's more of a problem in some sports than others. All the swimming scholarships are won by trans girls. If all the girls' sports scholarships and achievements and awards start to be won by trans kids, as there's been an absolute huge explosion of kids coming out as trans in recent years, we don't really have an answer to how prevalent it's going to be, because one of the talking points that trans activists use is that, plenty of trans kids play sports and aren't beating all the girls. Well, yeah, because you have to be pretty elite to beat all the girls, because some of the girls are really good athletes, right? But it's something like the top 15 or 20% of boys beat every girl runner. So it does have to be already an elite boy. I mean, you could decide to become a high school girl, but you wouldn't beat all the high school girls in running.
Says you.
I mean, so it's not that every boy who comes out as trans is going to be a threat to women's sports. But if you have enough boys come out as trans, then some of them are going to start to beat all the girls, just statistically speaking. So, I think you have to ask liberals, like, at what point would this be a problem to you? If the science ends up showing, after doing this for a decade, if it ends up showing that, cis women do lose scholarships, would that be a cause for you to reconsider this policy? Are you willing to follow the science on this where it leads over time? As we see the results of this policy, are you willing to reconsider it? And if the answer is no, if the answer is just no, trans women get to be in girls' sports no matter what, 100%, it doesn't matter if they, crowd out all the cis women from winning anything, then I think that answers a question of what the point of the policy is right there. It's not about fairness at all. And I think that will be the result of this policy over time. Just statistically speaking, it can't be. Once you have enough boys in the track and field events, cis girl or trans girls in the girls track and field events, cis girls can't win. You can have some in there and cis girls will still win some. But you can only have so many before statistically you start to have ones that can beat literally every girl ever born. So and I don't think that this policy, for all they're willing to tell you that it's all science and this and that, and the American Academy of Pediatrics recommends XYZ for gender dysphoria all day long, but if the science ends up showing that what everybody thinks this is going to do to girls' sports comes true, then, will you care? Or is it just about the activism? Because I think it's just about the activism. I don't think they care. They're willing to argue with you on how bad it is for girls' sports. But at the end of the day, bottom line, they don't care what it does to girls' sports.
No.
And I think that's the problem. And that's what's so disingenuous. Well, trans rights are human rights. La, 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 la. Like, we don't, it's...
But people,
But people care about sports,
Yes, and there's a reason there was an evolution onto how sports, came to be populated by the both sexes, and why a lot of most sports aren't co-ed. Mm-hmm. People looked at it. People know. I was like, this. There's a reason for this stuff.
Right.
And they know, and they're putting that aside. But the problem is, and you've got it with Maura here in Massachusetts, is they scoff at you for even asking the question.
Right.
Even asking the question. Then
because you're just a bigot.
Exactly. We believe trans rights are human rights. Is a slogan. So stop asking about your daughter. Trans rights are human rights. And that is a problem. And that is ugly and dark. Mm-hmm. And this is kind of thing. I don't know what Biden's belief in this stuff. I'm sure he knows it's horse belief, but he's been a transactional politician his whole life. He knows you got to take some ugly stuff if you're going to take some cash from the people, purveyors of the ugly stuff. But Psaki's dismissal as the front-facing, face of this administration, her dismissal of such questions. I don't understand the question. What yes, I know the executive order. Yeah, what's the question possibly? Her attempt to minimize real concerns. Mm-hmm. That is an ugly arrogance that hits people viscerally.
Right. When
they're not being listened to and they're being pushed around and their loved ones are being pushed around. And that ain't good. And we played it yesterday, and she did the same thing, of course, about the green jobs, just dismissing it.
When is it that the Biden administration is going to let the thousands of fossil fuel industry workers, whether it's pipeline workers or construction workers, who are either out of work or will soon be out of work because of a Biden EO, when it is and where it is that they can go for their green job? And that is something the administration has promised. There is now a gap. So I'm just curious when that happens, when those people can count on that.
Well, I'd certainly welcome you to present your data of all the thousands and thousands of people who won't be getting a green job. Maybe next time you're here, you can present that.
What a flippant blow off of a question. Are oil industry, energy jobs, workers' rights, not human rights as well?
But you said that they would be getting green jobs, so I'm just asking when that happens. Richard Trumka, who is a...
He's asking just when. You're destroying the industry right now. You're starting to incrementally do it. You're stopping obviously the Keystone Pipeline, but also on fracking, federal fracking lands right now. So you're snuffing out careers right now. What are you going to replace them with? It's just a human question. Who cares if it's Peter Doocy asking? It's just a human question.
Longtime friend of Joe Biden says about that day one Keystone EO, he says, I wish he, the president, had paired that more carefully with the thing that he did second by saying, here's where we are creating the jobs. So there's partial evidence from Richard Trumka.
Well, you didn't include all of his interview. Would you like to include the rest?
So how about this? The Laborers International Union of North America said the Keystone decision will cost 1,000 existing union jobs and 10,000 projected construction jobs.
Well, what Mr. Trumka also indicated in the same interview was that President Biden has proposed a climate plan with transformative investments in infrastructure and laid out a plan that will not only create millions of good union jobs, but also help tackle the climate crisis. And as the president has indicated...
It's good that you have a readout of Trumka's words there, but can you, on behalf of the administration, address the gap? Address the situation that we have now with people not having another choice, not having a replacement for their jobs and their livelihood. Can you do that for the people you care about?
When he gave his primetime address to talk about the American Rescue Plan, he talked about his plans to also put forward a jobs plan in the weeks or months following. And he has every plan to do exactly that.
Yeah, it'll just be weeks or months or whatever, years. It's fine. It's coming. We're putting kids back in schools immediately in 4 months. Well, just a fifth of the kids or 1 day a week or whatever it is. I can't remember all the fractions.
But there are people living paycheck to paycheck. There are now people out of jobs once the Keystone Pipeline stopped construction. It's been 12 days since Gina McCarthy and John Kerry were here, and it's been 19 days since that EO. So what are these people who need money now? When do they get their green job?
Well, the president and many Democrats and Republicans in Congress believe that investment in infrastructure, building infrastructure that's in our national interests and that boosts the U.S. economy, creates good-paying union jobs here in America and advances our climate and clean energy goals are something that we can certainly work on doing together. And he has every plan to share more about his details of that plan in the weeks ahead.
But mostly F you, Peter, because you're not getting the information because we don't give a frig.
Right.
It's not happening. These are vaporware jobs right now. We've got a grand vision ahead of the most incredible situation in the world. It's transformative what we're doing. These great green uranium, green hydrogen jobs, and all these jobs of wind technicians and solar technicians. And all of these things are going to be wonderful in startups. And we've reimagined energy now. It doesn't matter what's happening there with guys who wear uniforms and name tags right now and Keystone and all those. Screw that. We have a great, awesome progressive agenda that makes us look great around the world. It makes people in Davos think we're awesome and makes we use this crazy advanced parlance that you stupids won't understand, and it's the greatest thing in the world. And trust us, it's just going to be the greatest thing in the world. Like we said yesterday, it's like Fire Festival. It's going to be the greatest time in the world. You know, you're going to have Ja Rule there, and it's going to be models all over the place, and you're going to have cabanas, and it's going to be the best time in the world. That was Fire Festival. We're having Hire Festival here, and just trust us, it's going to be the greatest single event the world could ever know. Stop asking questions, Peter.
The actual experience exceeds all expectations, and is something that's hard to put into words. All these things that may seem big and impossible are not. It gives people that type of energy, that type of power.
We're dealing with this existential threat to the planet. When I think of climate change, I think of, and the answers to it, I think of jobs.
Wind turbine technician. They could be the people who go to work to make the solar panels.
Millions of new jobs in clean energy.
There's a lot of money to be made in the creation of these new jobs.
Millions of good-paying union jobs.
Good-paying union jobs?
New jobs that pay better, that are cleaner.
Those workers will be able to transition into jobs where they still invest and live in their own communities.
Geothermal heat, whatever it's going to be, Those are jobs.
And it means opportunities that we're going to lay out in this executive order that grow new jobs.
The same worker who works in South Carolina today putting together a BMW can put together a car, but it's electric. Solar power technician.
The actual experience exceeds all expectations.
So shut up. Stop asking questions about what or where or when. Didn't you hear? It's going to be a rethought, reimagined job landscape with all sorts of solar.
No, Pepper's knocking my camera.
No, Pepper. Solar and wind, Pepper. Solar and wind and all these wonderful things. So don't ask about these stupid people working on pipelines or people who are working on oil rigs and who wanted to work in new fracking locations. Don't worry about that. It's incredible. Peter, we're not taking questions on that. I'm not wasting my time on that. Yeah, well, fine, Peter. If you want to present the data, whatever, your data, your question in answering where do people put food on the table and how do people deal with the fact that they had a bright and fruitful and bountiful future ahead of them and we're taking that away, that's so boring. There's nothing West Wing about that. What's exciting in West Wing is this new frontier of wonderful, clean jobs we're doing. And we're going to be carbon neutral, and we can fly everywhere because we're those kind of peoples. There's somebody like us. So we need to do all that stuff. You just shut up and don't bother us about that. It is wonderful. It is wonderful to be so detached and to live, in a land of sprinkle dust and freaking unicorns and green jobs. Jen Psaki will always get a job as a hack in and around D.C., where they'll never have a recession. She'll never have to worry about a damn thing. So she doesn't care about deleting jobs in North Carolina, North Dakota, and whatever. All of these people, John Kerry, they'll never have to worry. You're getting in the way of their dream, of this wonderful vision they have for the future. And it would be,
what does our culture say? Block out the haters. Don't listen to that talk. I'm deleting toxic people from my life this month. Yeah. Get rid of the hater. You can just get rid. You don't have to hear debate. You don't have to hear other sides. That's how people end up in cults. And this climate change stuff is nothing if not a cult, It's all get rid of the toxic people, get rid of the doubters, get rid of the haters, people who just say, no, 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 we don't want to hear that. That's not the kind of thing that moves us forward. Sometimes you need people who have doubts about what you're doing. If it's stupid,
Yeah, I'm worried about, Jack Parkman, who's 6'6", playing against my daughter in field hockey. Trans rights are human rights. Oh, but I'm still worried about, Jack Parkman playing against my daughter, who's, 5'5". Trans rights are human rights. That's all it is. See that symbol? Doesn't that feel good? That's all that matters. We're all symbolically doing feel-good stuff. We're doing it gambling with your livelihood because you're stupid and didn't go to all the great schools we went to. So our livelihoods, we're not gambling. We're going to be fine. We'll always get our own hack jobs. That's fine. It's remarkable. We are happy to experiment with your dumb little lives, and we'll feel good about the experiment. Like we were happy to experiment this summer when we destroyed the black community and black businesses and made more, produced and unleashed a crime wave on those communities. But we feel good about it. It's about us feeling good. And saying green new energy and green hydrogen makes us feel good. So shut up and don't ask any more questions about it, or we'll be arrogant to you, okay? That's all it is. This is a high school, if it's not freaking kindergarten. So, the impeachment is happening today, Alice. I'll go through it just briefly.
I could not be less interested in the story. I know people are being like, wow, this is history. And I just, I can't imagine being interested in that.
Right. And Jamie Raskin from Maryland, one of the House managers, he released a video today that showed all the stuff. It's all this footage I've already seen. Of course, I knew he would, but they omitted Trump saying go to the Capitol peacefully. They just got rid of that because, why keep that in the film? They shouldn't have. That's stupid because people will know that now that it's not in there. But, it's everything you think. It's the same old stuff. One thing that was pretty much universally taken away from this first day is that Trump's lawyer, Bruce Castor, is not good at lawyer stuff. I would have got the cat guy.
I think that I want to give my colleague, Mr. Sean, an opportunity to explain to all of us the legal analysis on jurisdiction. I'll be quite frank with you. We changed what we were going to do on account that we thought that the House manager's presentation was well done.
Maybe less frank.
And I wanted you to know
going forward,
that
Bruce.
we have responses to those things.
But mostly,
I
we're
thought
not
that what
prepared
the
enough
first part of the case
to
was-
deal with that, so we'll probably take a loss here. It was interesting. It was OAN or was it Newsmax, I think, that actually was playing Bruce Castor, one of Trump's attorneys here, speaking, and broke in with Alan Dershowitz.
Because we feel pride and something bad is potentially in the wind. And we expect our United States senators not reacting to popular will and not reacting to popular
we just want to take a moment here to break down some of what's being discussed, because we do have Alan Dershowitz standing by, Professor Emeritus Alan Dershowitz at Harvard Law. What are you making of Bruce Castor's argument so far? Where is he heading with this?
There is no argument. I have no idea what he's doing. I have no idea why he's saying what he's saying. He's introducing himself. I'm a nice guy. I like my senators. I know my senators. Senators are great people. Come on. The American people are entitled to an argument, a constitutional argument. I suspect will be forthcoming from David Schoen. But this, just after all kinds of very strong presentations on the part of the House managers with the videotapes, and the emotional speech by Congressman Raskin, my former student.
He's always notes that.
You get up there and you respond. We know that hard cases make bad law. I probably would have started with that.
So there we go. Dersh is disgusted. The other the lawyer for Trump, David Schoen, made at least some cogent points.
Esteemed members of the Senate, going forward with this impeachment trial of a former president of the United States is unconstitutional for reasons we have set out in our brief, some of which we'll focus on here. And as a matter of policy, it is wrong, as wrong can be, for all of us as a nation. We are told by those who favor having these proceedings that we have to do it for accountability. But anyone truly interested in real accountability for what happened at the Capitol on January 6th, would of course insist on waiting for a full investigation to be completed. Indeed, one is underway in earnest already, intent on getting to the bottom of what happened. Anyone interested in ensuring that it's truly the one or ones responsible from whom accountability is sought would more than willingly wait for the actual evidence, especially with new evidence coming in every day about pre-planning, about those who were involved, and about their agenda bearing no relationship to the claims made here.
So,
I mean, yeah, that is a good point, actually.
No, it's a very good point.
That they're busting people for planning this in advance, so how can they have been incited by his speech that day?
Well, right, and that is a good point. But the other point is that he said, how can we do this without an investigation?
Right.
Because you'd want all the facts. Mm-hmm. But we know the reason why we're doing this without an investigation.
Yeah, because the Democrats said they were going to impeach Trump, and now they're going to stick with it, even though it's dumb now because he's not even in office anymore.
Right. Well, yes, that's part of it, indeed. But also because the Democrats want this over with.
Yeah.
They want this over with. There's no great political win in this. This is just like a formality to stick a fork in Trump. This is not a win. The Biden stimulus, COVID relief is polling well. Mm-hmm. They want to get to do that.
Right.
That's good stuff. That could be winning stuff for them.
Mm-hmm. Although they're screwing that up too. People are starting to get mad because the discussion of how far to lower the cutoffs for the additional $1,400 that people were assured if they voted for the Georgia senators would be coming their way has been. It's up in the air what that cutoff's going to be. $50,000, $100,000. Right. There's no, and that's, that's your what you made in 2019 before the pandemic happened. So it doesn't necessarily mean that's what happened to you during the pandemic. That's a problem for a lot of people.
Well, and this is what happens when you vote in an administration and policies that you never looked at.
Right.
And so this administration knew you weren't looking, and this obviously I voted for Trump, whatever, but I have an open mind about the Biden administration. I would hope that they do some stuff well. I'm glad that he's not calling anybody horseface. That's a good thing. I like the dogs.
So far, he has not accused anyone of killing their intern.
Right. So far. But they have had since day one a string of unforced errors. Some of them have just been deliberate screw yous, but they have rolled out so much so badly. Mm-hmm. And it's always tempting to say, imagine this was the Trump administration. And the Trump administration had trouble too with the travel ban and this and that. But it's not unique to Trump, and it's happening now every day, which is why you've put the press corps in a position of having to ask you questions about things, having to ask about all these executive orders, which are screwed people who work in energy, and it's going to screw women, girls who want to compete in sports. But the Jamie Raskin thing, I just have a little piece of it here. His daughter was visiting the Capitol when it was when the hooligans got in there, and he's one of the House managers. He knew that you don't let an opportunity like this go, and maybe he's just a really good man. But anybody in Washington D.C. always assume that they're being just opportunistic. But maybe you know what, Alice? Maybe we have to learn to take the good with the bad. I'm trying. There's an analogy that has to do with food. Vinegar, lemon. I don't know. All right, so here's a little bit of Jamie Raskin.
And I told my daughter Tabitha, who's 24 and a brilliant algebra teacher in Teach for America. Now, I told her how sorry I was, and I promised her that it would not be like this again the next time she came back to the Capitol with me. And you know what she said? She said, Dad, I don't want to come back to the Capitol.
And there go the waterworks, and that's why you get Trump's, it seems like semi-substitute teacher, musty old attorney saying, wow, that was really good up there sitting, which you don't generally hear. But yeah, this thing is essentially over.
Well,
I don't know
also, like, some of the people that the Trump people have put forward as saying that you can't impeach a president who's out of office already had like gone to the media before this happened and said that Trump's lawyers were misrepresenting their work and you absolutely can't impeach a president after he leaves office. So
yeah,
like it was bad form all around. They were not prepared.
Yeah, they were prepared for something, but it wasn't this.
Yeah.
And you know what, Alice? There's one thing that they had going for them is they didn't have this problem.
I'm not a cat.
They didn't come in as cats, at least, which is probably a plus. But this is GOP Senator Bill Cassidy, and if he's not a good barometer for the bleep show that was the Trump defense team.
Why do you think the Trump defense team did a terrible job?
Did you listen to it?
I did.
Okay, then it speaks for itself.
I found Castor hard to follow for sure. Other Republicans have praised Chauvin. Is that your feeling of things, or did you think that
Again, if you listen to it, it speaks for itself. It was disorganized, random, had nothing. They talked about many things, but they didn't talk about the issue at hand. And so if I'm an impartial juror and I'm trying to make a decision based upon the facts as presented on this issue, then the House managers did a much better job.
So, Alice, does this give Republicans the opportunity and cover now to vote to remove the already self-removed president, since they did such a bad job? Can they say now that these lawyers did such a poor job framing the case, framing the defense, that like this guy said, if I'm a juror, which he is, then I can't, based on the case that they presented, I can't vote not to throw Trump out.
Right. I mean, I think they're still not going to. You know, you can make the case that it's possible constitutionally to impeach a president who's been out, but you know, I don't think it gives the Republicans any benefit to vote to impeach Trump now at this point. What does it do for you if you're a Republican?
Good question. Okay, a little housekeeping before I hand it over to Mrs. Shattuck. Jen Psaki today asked a question by a reporter. This is a question that Jen Psaki answered just fine.
We had the acting attorney general ask all of the Trump-appointed U.S. attorneys to resign from their post, with the exception of two, the one overseeing the beginnings of the Russia probe and the one overseeing Hunter Biden's tax probe. Can you comment on that?
As you know, this has been commonplace among previous administrations, and we look forward to working with the Senate to swiftly fill these openings in the coming weeks. The president has also made clear that he wants to restore the independence of the Department of Justice.
So, right, usually the incoming president whacks out the other AGs of the previous president from another party. It is something that always happens. That said, 4 years ago, in March of 2017, you had anchors, EMTs giving anchors chest compressions on live TV when Trump did the same thing because it was breaking of norms. Incredible. He just fired them all. That's just a small notebook note. Also, Pete Buttigieg was asked about the future of our roads.
What's the biggest way that transportation has been permanently changed by the pandemic? It's too soon to know for sure, but I think...
One thing before we go any further, I would hate for that to be my beat if I was that reporter. I got to ask road questions again. Some bridges, mostly road questions.
Maybe trains.
Transportation. How's the transportation pandemic been? Is there a social justice, argument to be made in transportation equity, sir? Oh, kill me.
It's safe to say that our old patterns of life, the 9 to 5, Monday through Friday commuting patterns, are not going to be exactly the same.
Yeah, and so how might that change what your staff does?
We think trains, planes, and automobiles, but what about bikes, scooters, wheelchairs for that matter?
Those are things you plan to pay more attention to?
Absolutely, yeah. Look, roads aren't only for vehicles. We got to make sure that pedestrians and individuals and bicyclists and businesses can all coexist on the same roadway.
How perfect, how wonderful are Democrats. Destroy the jobs, destroy women's sports, make driving even more horrific than it is in every city and town we possibly can with federal guidelines and federal regulations.
The interstate highway system is just not accessible enough to wheelchairs currently. That's the main issue.
Exactly. and we're going to put 600 million traffic lights in every highway so that just so you understand, you're not totally liberated yet. You have to slow down. By the way, did you hear that in our town, they're on each end of the town, they're thinking of putting crosswalks?
Mm-hmm. With button lights.
Mm-hmm. To stop the flow of traffic on each end of the town on Main Street. This town that we're in right now, it has one street, and it's really Main Street, and it was just going too swimmingly that we have to freaking... And, of course, it's people from Wakefield and Melrose who are doing this. Okay, that's fine. I'm fine. Jesus. One more thing, Alice.
Yes?
Another jerk was another really good progressive saw another woman in a store and use the occasion to accost her, because this is what really good progressives do. They look for reasons that they can push around women. If the person without the mask in this store was a 6'8" dude, wouldn't happen. But these guys, progressive men, man, they're
very brave.
Yes.
When it comes
Say cheese, you're in Costco not wearing your mask, refusing to wear your mask.
Yes, call the police.
And here's her mother.
The mother is literally in a Lark scooter. She's 153 years old, and this guy's got them both on camera, feeling very proud about himself.
Can you call your manager?
Sorry?
Can you call your manager?
Do I call my manager?
And I call my manager for what? Wait, because what? Unless you're suggesting that this petite woman and this 143-year-old woman are some kind of security risk to us?
She also has a mask in her hand.
Yes,
she just hasn't put it on yet.
She's killing people.
He's taking pictures of me because I haven't had a moment to put my mask on.
You can put it on right now, ma'am.
He's shaming me. I'm not going to do that for you.
You should be ashamed.
I'll do that when
You should be ashamed, and I'm going to make sure
should
you
be
feel
ashamed.
ashamed. Jesus, what a jerk. What a total jerk. Oh, man. It is wonderful, though. And that's happened. Remember outside in New Jersey, Alice?
Mm-hmm.
When the guy asked you because we were parked in the wrong space or something? You were with the kids? Remember we were...
Oh, you put
Right.
me in this situation because you parked in the green vehicle space.
Right. And even though this guy wasn't in a green vehicle, he was just in a normal car, he saw I had gone to do something, walk a dog, grab a coffee.
Yeah, I had like a, yeah.
And Alice was with the kids, this is a few years ago, and the guy saw that car didn't appear to be a green car and walked up to her. And what did he say?
I don't remember exactly what he said, but I know that it was an issue that we had parked in the green vehicle space. So.
Big tough guy. There's a lady with her kids going to get to yell at her. It's excellent. Hey,
So,
what are you doing in the
told
green?
him-
Is that a green space? Well, nobody else was here. It doesn't really matter. Yeah, no, you're not supposed to.
It wasn't like a charging station for an electric vehicle or
No.
something. It was just like a handicap spot for.
But it wasn't a
green
handicap
vehicle.
spot.
No,
It was
wasn't
just
a
saying,
handicap
hey,
spot.
if you're driving a green car, since you're being a good person, you get to be a little bit closer to the pizza place.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So that is my situation. I'm fine. I'm fine with Costco guy. Just remember, there are happy things in the world.
I'm not a cat.
I mean, yeah. Mark my words. It's always a guy yelling at a woman. It's not. There's just liberals that have this kind of weird anger, and like you said, he's not gonna. If it was, Arnold Schwarzenegger walking around in there without a mask, he wasn't about to go up to him and so you should be ashamed. Like, it's very transparent why they do it and why they enjoy it so much. But anyway, they can take that up with their therapist. I would like to offer congratulations, Thomas, to TJ Ducklow.
Oh,
TJ Ducklow is dating the Axios press pool reporter who reports on the Biden administration.
that's impossible because he works for the administration, so that would be a conflict of interest.
Yeah, on the communications team, I believe. So she apparently, Politico is reporting this, that she disclosed to her boss, Axios, that she was dating TJ Ducklow in November, and they have continued to have her cover the Biden administration as an unbiased reporter. As their
TJ Ducklow, and they'll make a good pair too, I think, because she is probably a really good reporter. He's a very, very honest and forthright guy.
Has Joe Biden ever used a teleprompter during local interviews or to answer Q&A with supporters?
Brett, we are not going to engage. This is straight from the Trump campaign's
But yeah,
talking
they're
points.
using it.
And what it does, Brett, is it's trying to distract the American people.
They're using it. They talk about it every day. Can you say yes or no?
That's because they talk about it every day, Brett, because they don't have a coherent
Well, you have an
strategy.
answer. Yes or no?
Brett, they talk about it every day because they don't have a coherent argument for why Donald Trump deserves re-election, deserves 4 more years. We know that he lied to the American people. We know that he has not shown leadership during this crisis, and they are desperate to throw anything they can against the wall to try to distract from that fact.
I understand, but you can't answer the question.
Brett, I am not going to allow the Trump campaign to funnel
Thanks, TJ. Well, as long as his love life is intact.
Yeah, well, as we can quote Alexi McCammond, who is the Axios reporter in question, when she was on the podcast for the January 20th inauguration. She was on their panel podcast about that. And, she really, I think, has a very clear eye on the Biden administration when she points out what we've seen from Biden is compassion and empathy and a focus on unity in a way we certainly haven't seen from President Trump. So there you go. That seems like a very normal thing for a news organization to be doing.
Not only figuratively in bed with the administration, but
literally since November. She told her bosses in November that she was dating TJ Ducklow, the deputy press secretary of the administration. So that seems
excellent. No
very
conflict
fine
whatsoever.
and normal. That's great. Congratulations to him. We could all use a little more love in our lives, I think. In other news, there's also congratulations due to David Hogg.
Yes.
I'm scared to say his name because I
It's
don't.
Hogg.
Hogg. David Hogg. Has
Duck and Hogg.
Mm-hmm. I guess it's like an animal theme today then. So David Hogg has started a company. He saw a niche in the market and he has stepped up to fill it. His website came out today. Washington Post profiled his amazing company. Can you guess what he's making?
I know what he's making because I saw the color TV.
Mm-hmm.
He's making pillows.
Yes, the company, it transpires, is called Good Pillow. And the Good Pillow pillows Their website is pretty sparse right now. It looks like it was made in the mid-90s, I would say, roughly.
I want a list of everybody who purchases a good pillow.
So there's no there's no way to buy a good pillow yet, because I assume there's no way to make a good pillow yet. He wants them to be union-made, sustainable, and embrace all leftist causes. I assume hire trans people.
I think that's wonderful. I want people to be going around using woke but horribly uncomfortable pillows. I am all for that.
Their woke pillow. So woke pillow smiley face is the logo. They were soliciting a logo. They wanted a very high-end graphic designer to make them a logo today for $200 in advance of their Washington Post.
Oh, they're gonna get. That's all the good graphic designers.
Go design logos within a matter of hours for $200. That's, I think, the going rate for very high-end graphic designers. So for now, you can join the wait list to get a good pillow. Or there's also the 2 buttons that you can pick on the website. Or you can join the wait list to get a pillow, or you can do a media request.
Oh, let's get David Hogg on. Maybe we'll get him on.
So
That's
you
excellent.
can find out.
You know, we'll get him and Lindell on and have them fight it out. So this is obviously a cute retaliation or answer to Mike Lindell, who's a little bit over-enthused at the moment about the election being ripped off, but it might end up in an exciting turf war in Giza, Alice.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows?
Yeah, so anyway, the website's full of typos and emoji smiley faces, but it's goodpillow.co.
Please, let's not talk anymore about
okay,
that.
so if you need to reserve your good pillow, goodpillow.co. But you can also go read the Washington Post feature if you would like to do that.
The Post was happy to give them some free ink today.
And speaking of the Post, they're now covering the latest mess at the New York Times, which is it's drama at the New York Times as usual, because there's a battle for the soul of the paper with the wokeists trying to destroy everybody. So in any case,
they've whacked the guy McNeil, who's been in the health education
he's a
reporter
science
for about
reporter.
50 years, because during a discussion with some people on a field trip where they were talking about the use of the N-word, he actually said the word in the discussion about the word, and even though it wasn't used as a pejorative or anything,
right? He said some person said X, Y, Z.
So he said it, and so now he has to be canceled. And he's done. And there's somebody else who's getting whacked. Oh, yeah, the person who is in charge of their podcast, the podcast genius, is gone, too, because he wrote endlessly about a reformed ISIS person living in Canada, and the whole thing is false. So that is where we are on that.
But, Don McNeil, the science reporter with the N-word thing, I mean, there were also, apparently he also scoffed at the idea of cultural appropriation.
What do you got, James? What's happening? It's over. It's over.
Yeah. Anyway, I wanted to say more about that, but my husband's not letting me.
We'll do it tomorrow.
We'll do it tomorrow.
First things tomorrow.
In any case, in the meantime, you can talk to us on Twitter at BurnBarrelPod, Facebook.com/BurnBarrelPodcast.
Your husband isn't letting you. The kids are in duress, Alice. The poor kids are starving. The children. Am I the only one who cares about children anymore? Mm-hmm. You know that they're our future, don't you?
As the person who was up at 3 a.m. with children,
I'm not a cat.
Take exception.
My goodness.
So anyway, Twitter at BurnBarrelPod, Facebook.com/BurnBarrelPodcast. You can send us an email at burnbarrelpodcast@gmail.com. You can comment on our YouTube videos. That's the Tom Shattuck's Burn Barrel YouTube channel. You can like the videos, subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
Here we
write
go.
us
Now
a
it's
review.
really over.
Do all the
Now
good
it's
things.
really
I know.
over.
Now the real terrorist has entered the room.
C'est la vie.
Thanks, everybody.